let me move on to the kind of the state of health care in America for a second here. Dick Cheney in 2005, he got Halliburton completely exempted from the Clean Water Act, and as a result, you have this flammable tap water around in the country due to the fracking. Now, the FDA recently approved unregulated planting of genetically modified alfalfa seeds. One of the very first acts of the new Republican Congress is an attempt to get rid of the Clean Air Act. So the entire environment, which is the source of the economy, is being destroyed from within. The very foundation is being destroyed. How come people don't understand that if you destroy the ecology and the environment, you're destroying the economy? There's no self-interest in that, correct?
Correct. And by the way, don't only blame the Republicans. Look at Obama's new budget. They're cutting about 30% out of the EPA. And look at the people in this country. They're, junk food fattened and prescription drug addicted. They don't know what's going on. And the fracking, by the way, that's happening right where we are, up in Kingston, New York, right north of us. And there are loads of protests going on and trying to stop it. At the same time, they're running these ads on TV, the industry, about how wonderful it is for all of us, the jobs it's going to create, and how it's going to lower energy costs, and of course, make us free from Mideast oil. So, the people, again, they're only thinking short term. Is there a job in it for me? And do I have to pay less for fuel? Let's remember, this is not a society that is really that bright on not only local issues or national issues, but they don't have a clue for the most part of what's going on globally. So the advertisements and the lure of jobs and cheap energy are probably more of a swaying point than it's killing you. Because if they cared about their own health, then they would care about the environment. So if they don't care about themselves, what are they going to care about the environment?
Right. So it's an attack on the individual's ability to even ascertain what their self-interest is. And once you destroy that, you can destroy everything else. So you talk about energy. So let's go back to the Mideast for a second. All these revolutions happening in the region, all this democracy breaking out. It seems like the odd man out here would be Israel. Is that true? And if so, what's going to happen now in Israel going forward in their relationship with their neighbors?
Well, we're hearing from reports from Lebanon that Israel may invade Lebanon. And we're hearing from the head of Hezbollah saying that if such an invasion happens, the Lebanese are going to invade Israel. And we're also hearing this noise from Israel about an Iranian ship going through a warship going through the Suez Canal. What's the big deal? One Iranian warship going through the Suez Canal? What do they have? The Fifth Fleet of the United States in Bahrain? So what they're doing is they're trumpeting it up because Israel's going to be losing support in the long term as these monarchies and dictatorships not are only overthrown, but there's so much flux in the Middle East that they're not going to be worrying about Israel anymore. They're going to be worrying about their own hometown, whether it's in Egypt, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, or anywhere else. So we believe that there's going to be more and more flare-ups coming out of Israel, whether it has to do with Gaza, the West Bank, more settlements, or a possible incursion into Lebanon. And of course, there's always that boogeyman, Iran. We got to stop Iran. That's going to be the whole thing. Matter of fact, if you want to know about hypocrisy, I think it's spelled Hillary Clinton. She just came out about how terrible the regime is in Iran and how they wouldn't allow internet freedom or the people to protest, as the United States was supporting Mubarak for 30 years and over $40 billion worth of U.S. money as they shut down the internet, as they supported a dictatorship. So rather than her addressing that, she's throwing it back over to Iran. So that's what we're looking at now, Max, the Middle East once again.
Right. Right. Well, okay. So in the region, you've got the three players, if you will. You've got Saudi Arabia and Iran, and you've got Israel. The triangle, the Bermuda Triangle of foreign policy facoctinous, if you will, to coin a term. So going forward, Gerald Celente, Trends Institute, master prognosticator, seer of all things, who's going to be the loser out of those three? Saudi Arabia, Iran, Israel. Who's got the weakest hand at the global geopolitical poker table?
I would say in the long run, it's going to be Israel. They're surrounded, and and again, I'm not saying this. People are going to call me an anti-Semite because they don't like what I'm saying. But in the long term, they're the odd man out, because there's going to be a point when the interests aren't going to be in the Middle East, in the sense that, we can see an alternative energy coming within a decade that is going to start having less and less importance on oil, whether it's coming from these low-energy nuclear reactions or other kinds of alternative energies. And the fact is, these countries, as I mentioned, whether it's Egypt, Libya, Algeria, you name Turkey, they're going to have their own problems. They're not going to be a lot of people caring about Israel in the future, as we see it. We think they're going to take the biggest hit because these other countries, they're going to also be in civil war. So we're going to see civil war to regional war to the Great War.
Right, so maybe it's time to short the shekel. So, Gerald Celente, we've got about a minute left, and I just want to remind people, they see you on TV, they see you all over the news. Maybe they don't know that Gerald Celente, who is he? He's the man behind the Trends Journal, which comes out, I think, on a quarterly basis, and it really has become now in the last couple of years. It's been around for 20 years. What do you think? You mentioned the alternative energy space. Is that kind of the big theme going forward, Gerald?
Yes, it really is. That's the game changer, by the way, Max, in a lot of things. The economy as well. Go back to the 1990s. What got the U.S. out of the recession and a lot of the world? It was the Internet revolution. Our whole lives are different because it was a productive capacity. Products were made. They were invented, designed, manufactured, serviced. And we believe we're on the brink of an alternative energy breakthrough. But here are the holdups, by the way. One is in the United States. They're holding up patents that they don't want to get out because they're saying they don't meet scientific criteria. And the other is that there are companies that are buying out these scientists before they can bring the product to market. But if that happens, imagine you having your own energy-producing unit the size of a hot water heater. You're off the grid. These things are being manufactured. The whole global game changes. Something like that could be a game changer.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today, Gerald Celente. And this is a special 20-year anniversary issue. And to be competitive with the Sports Illustrated, there's actually a photo of Gerald wearing a bathing suit. So you don't want to miss this edition of Trends Journal. Gerald, thanks so much again for being on the edge.
Hey, thanks, Max.
All right, and that's going to do it for this edition of On the Edge. I want to thank my guest, Gerald Celente. You can catch all of his work at trendsjournal.com. If you want to send me an email, please do so at ontheedge on presstv.com. Until next time, this is Max Keiser saying bye, y'all.